Let's continue here with the program, which is drawing this random line. And the first thing we should do is detect when we are touching one of the borders and jump back to the center. We could add a check here at the end. We could write if old x is less than 0. In that case, make all. We could type here old x is now in the center of the screen, but we have this function called reset, so it's quite easy. We should do the same with the y. Old y is less than 0, then reset. And if old x is greater than the width of the screen, then reset. And finally, if old y is greater than the height of the screen, then reset. But you can see this is very long, and we are all the time doing the same action. We are just calling reset. So there is a way of entering all 4 conditions. This first condition, second one, third one, and fourth. We could enter them all together. And for that, we use something called OR, logic OR. It's 2 vertical bars. This depends on the keyboard and depending on the country where you are at. In my keyboard, I get this character by pressing the key right next to the spacebar and together the key 1. So you enter 2 times. This means OR. So we're going to type if this condition is true or if another condition is true. So I can copy this thing here. So now you can see if old x is less than 0 or if old y is less than 0 or, and we can enter like this all 4 conditions, old x is greater than width or old y is greater than height, then reset. So we can enter all that in one line. It's a bit long, but it's not that complicated. There's just 4 possibilities. Old x being less than 0 or greater than width, old y being less than 0 or greater than height. In all those cases, reset. So now every time this gets out of the screen, it starts again from the center. It would be nice if the line was changing the width. Maybe we could do that. Starts being thin, and as time passes, the line gets thicker and thicker. And if we get out of the screen, then this is reset. So I'm going to add here a new variable, float w for width. And when we are resetting, we are saying that the width is 1. That's the default, is 1 pixel. And then every time we draw, we are here randomly changing the angle. So I'm going to increase the width of the line. If I typed w is w plus 1, that would be too fast. I think it would get huge. We can try it. Of course, we are not using yet this variable. I forgot that. So I'm going to set here stroke weight w. But I think we're going to have to change this. It's not bad, but I think it will look a little bit better if we go a little bit slower. So let's add 0.1. So now the line gets thicker, but it's a reasonable amount, I think. So this looks like some plants growing, maybe. And finally, we could also change the color of the line. We would set here stroke, and we need here some hue, saturation, and brightness. Let's just use a hue of 0, which I know is red. And let's play with the saturation and the brightness. So we could enter, for now, a maximum saturation. We have set that the color values go from 0 to 100. And let's make this brightness somehow random. I'm going to use here a noise times 100. We know that the noise is giving a number between 0 and 1. If I multiply it by 100, then I get a number between 0 and 100. What do we enter inside? Let's see, what variables do we have here? It could depend on maybe the angle or maybe on the width of the line. Let's try one of them, maybe the angle. And we can see that we have this red line. Sometimes it's darker than others. It's a bit bloody. what would happen if we enter here W. The effect is less visible. And we could enter both, W, comma, A. I don't think it's going to be very different, but I think it looks more interesting than just plain black. If you want to play with other colors, you could change this first value here. Let's try with 30. Now they are green. So now we know how to generate some graphics that are using direction, are using one angle that is changing slowly over time. One final experiment we could do is get only positive or negative numbers. So what happens if I get numbers between 0 and 0,4? Then I will always turn in the same direction. And it's getting thicker and thicker, and it's not able to escape the screen. If I make the number smaller, then the circle gets bigger. And if I enter a negative number, for example, give me numbers between minus 0,4 and 0, never positive numbers. So now it rotates in the opposite direction. So depending, you can play with these numbers and you will get different images. And now there's negative and positive numbers, but it's not symmetric. You will get more negative numbers than positive numbers. And sometimes it will turn in one direction, but usually it will go in the opposite direction. Okay, try to come with ideas of how you could use this concept of direction using an angle to generate your own graphics.